Tell us the most successful Scrum transformation you have had with your team. Hello, welcome to the Scrum chat room with Dr. Francis Mbunya. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button because we are bringing you valuable teaching that's going to help you close that gap between theory and practice and help you get to that job position really fast. Today we are dealing with a scenario question. How will you target scenario based or situational questions? This is a very open question, right? Tell us about the most successful Scrum transformation you've had with your team. Okay, so this can come from every angle. Now, I'm going to talk about how you can tweak this in your favor and how you can make it less complicated. But before we get into that, a couple of few announcements. If you want to be Safe Scrum Master Certified, okay, we have the next training coming up on Monday. When is today? It's gonna be next Monday, right? Reach out to us through a number, just send a text, enroll me for the next session. And if you actually kind of come in early before Friday, you get a discount for getting into the next session. Okay, and if you want to be coached by me, definitely there's a link on that list that gives you a video of what it takes. Please, if you want to reach out, make sure that you're watching that video so that you understand what you're coming to get, right? So that if we're having a conversation, you should not be asking me to explain because quite a lot of course coming in and I cannot really explain to everyone. So I took the time to make a video on what it takes to work with me. So if you go through that video and feel like, oh, this is something I'm looking up to, reach out to us and then we'll be able to help you. But then let's go straight to the question without wasting so much time. All right, so the question says, what is the most successful Scrum transformation you've had with your team? This, you can take it from any angle. I'm going to use like 2 different scenarios to answer these questions. And I'm also going to give you many more scenarios through which you can answer that question. Now, transformation, you need to understand that most of the companies, before they start doing Scrum, they were waterfall. What does waterfall mean? It means definitely end-to-end way of doing stuff. What does Scrum mean? Scrum is about implementing in shorter cycle and learning. That's why you have like 2-week sprint and some may even have a month sprint, so shorter cycle of learning. Waterfall means that, okay, let's do it. And at the end, let's see the result and see how we can evaluate. So if you understand that Scrum is about using incremental delivery and short cycle of learning. Now, what are some of the concepts that is implemented in a Scrum environment that are not implemented in the waterfall environment? That's going to be the transformation, right? I'm going to take first time boxing. Time boxing is a very valuable concept in Scrum, which a lot of companies that are doing transition are facing a lot of difficulties in accommodating that. So if I want to talk about the most successful transformation I've had with a Scrum team, I'm going to talk about time boxing. And I'm going to make it very simple. Okay, when I joined my most recent team, I realized that most of their meetings were not respecting the time box. For instance, the Scrum, daily Scrum or daily stand-up is supposed to be 15 minutes. But sometimes I realized they'll even pull up to 30, 45 minutes. And because of this, it was taking a whole lot of time, right? I realized that a lot of work would not be completed by the end of the sprint. So when I did my observation for about 1 or 2 sprints to actually find out what was going on and why they were taking so much time, I kind of noticed that it's because they were not creating a lot of time behind the Scrum meeting to have conversation, to communicate among them. So the daily stand-up was like the only place they could come and start talking about what they're doing and start looking at how they could help each other. So they did not really understand the importance of daily stand-up. And also, collaboration within the team was really missing. So when I understood that this was a major point, during the retrospective, I kind of raised the issue about the aspect of keeping the Scrum meeting to 15, the daily Scrum to 15 minutes, just to get their opinion. And most of them raised the issue like, oh yeah, Francis would like to keep it to 15 minutes, but you know that a lot of people need her, and they're raising questions that we need to come in. So that is the reason why sometimes the meetings go even up to 45 minutes. All right. I say, yeah, that's very important. And can I give a suggestion? What if we create a scenario where we do a lot of one-on-one in the background, so that when we come to this daily stand-up, we just give an update about what we are doing, and if there's something that we have to raise as an impediment, we could create more time to handle that. In that case, it's going to help us not just to have a bigger conversation as a team, because some of those conversations, not everybody is involved, and it might get boring to just me sitting and listening for a long time. But then if we can bring this conversation, foster collaboration within the team in the background, it can help us. And say, okay, we're going to try, right? And they actually start implementing that, and we start making sure that the meetings were just 15 minutes. Daily stand-up were just 15 minutes. And because they could not, because we all agree as a team that discussions that are beyond just updates should go on the background of discussion, the team noticed that now they build more interpersonal relationship with their peers, and this helped them to easily resolve some of the lady issues that they were coming and debating over them during the daily stand-up. So what happened? When that happened, I realized the team could move. The springboard was moving more faster now, right? A lot of updates were going on in the springboard, and more stories were being closed compared to the previous one, compared to when they were having this long conversation. So what actually was happening now, because they were creating more of the time and addressing the issues immediately they arise, and did not wait for the daily stand-up to start talking about this issue, it saves them a lot of time. And also because we kept our daily stand-up meeting to 15 minutes, they had more time to work on their ticket. So they were able to create this on time. Now, what is a lesson we learned from here? The lesson we learned from here, or the lesson I learned by implementing this, was the fact that most often the reason why Scrum seems to be a bit cumbersome for many companies is because they definitely not putting this practice, the agile practices, they definitely not already adopting the agile practices and seeing how they can work for them. But then sometimes it's also the fact that facilitation is not really coordinated. So this was something they could do on their own, but they've never had someone that could kind of sit down, help them to pull this together. Now, what I did was not to tell them to do it, but was to give them reasons that could help them see that if they implemented this approach, it could shift things. And immediately they did that, they saw the result. Right, and this was a big impact for the team. And during the Scrum of Scrum, I shared the lessons with other Scrum Masters, and they really started implementing it for their team as well. And we kind of, during my stay within the organization, we kind of saw some good results. Okay, so now let me analyze the question back a bit. The most successful Scrum transformation, a couple of things you want to capture. First of all, you always want to think about what was that point, what was that specific aspect that you changed. Then, how did you bring about the change? We spoke about this aspect was time boxing. How did you bring about the change? Observing, and bringing up the conversation during the retrospective and getting everyone to come into an agreement. Right, what was the result? They were able to get more conversation going on behind the scene, and it helps them to be able to solve the problems, a lot of problems as they arise behind the scene. And we saw so much progress on our Scrum bot, or on our Jira bot story. We're moving faster and we could close on time. And then evidence. So evidence is we got more result, more faster, and the team got to really start engaging. So during the daily stand-up, you're like, oh, I had an issue, but I was able to get in contact with this person and we fix it. So we are all good. Now the team moved to a more performing team. What's the outcome? We have a happy team. The Scrum Master have some more time to he or herself, and the whole company was happy because we're creating results. Now, if you could help your team become performant as a Scrum Master, you create more time for yourself. But if your team is not performing, what is going to happen? A lot of impediment will be raised, and you're going to spend so much time in fixing those impediments. Now, let's look at the second scenario, which I could also create for this. Now, remember the first scenario was on time box. Now, the second scenario is in, which is also a very big value of Scrum, is in what? Relentless improvement. Now, relentless improvement happens during retrospective. But if you meet a team and you follow up with the team and realize that a lot of things are not changing, the first indicator for you to kind of look into that will be how effective are the retrospective meeting. And now, if I want to bring a second scenario on the most successful transformation I've had with a previous team I work with, I can still talk about the retrospective. Now, the retrospective are meant for the team to really openly have that conversation, right? It's okay for them to argue among themselves, have the conversation, collaborate and clarify each other and get good practices. So I'll bring a scenario like this. When I joined one of my teams, I realized that their daily retrospective, they were fun, but then they weren't creating results. And when I did observations, I realized that the product manager was always part of their retrospective. Although the product manager was a fun and easygoing guy, and the team thought, oh, it was cool for the product manager to be part of the retrospective, I kind of observed that at the end of every retrospective, they will not really have actionable steps, which are really more on aspect that could support the management aspect. So I made a suggestion for the product manager to stop attending retrospective and just leave just the team alone to be able to brainstorm and let's see what result we could have. And the product manager agreed with me and missed a couple of retrospective. And when we actually had a first retrospective without a product manager, I realized that most of the issues that were raised in terms of things they want to see improve on the team was kind of management based. Like, oh, sometimes tickets are being pushed to us at the last minute from the stakeholders and we cannot say no. And sometimes I even stay right up at night trying to finish the ticket because I want to catch up time, and this affects a lot of my days and other stuff. Now, those genuine conversations comes up when the manager is not there. But if the manager is there, most often some of the stakeholders, we'll talk about project from the stakeholders in management, is not outside the company. If the manager was there, we feel like, oh, maybe I'm raising up the issue because I don't want to do work, right? But this is an issue that's like an impediment. So when we raise up the issues that were from the management perspective point of view, it helped me now, the Scrum Master, to know what negotiation to have with the management on the way we could start moving forward in terms of releasing urgent ticket to the team, not really from like that urgent point of view, but building a step-by-step scenario that if the ticket that need to be raised as urgent stuff, we could be able to kind of not just push it to the team like, oh, look, you know what, this is a high ticket priority. Can you start working on it? I need it by tomorrow. Now we could be able to raise up those tickets and make sure that we're collecting them ahead of time. And then we can somehow raise up the issues. We have them in the backlog, but create an opportunity during the daily stand-up to raise up an issue, have the team have an more of a negotiation from it, get their opinions, and then get them buy in those tickets. Now, when the team have the opportunity to negotiate and to see the business value on why they should take this ticket and why they should prioritize it, they don't feel as if it's work pushed to them, right? So they can now do it as like, yeah, we understand that this is kind of urgent. But if it's just like, oh, you need to switch and work on this ticket, it's very urgent, psychologically it's disturbing. But if this ticket are raised, they put in the backlog, but then we kind of raise it up as an urgent issue, have the team have a conversation about it, have the team prioritize their sprint backlog, it goes really well. And when we kind of instituted that transformation, it helps the team to become more performant. It shifted a mindset from the fact that, oh, management is pushing too many tickets to us, to the fact that, oh, we need to always look at how to re-evaluate our business value and to see how we can shift our focus. That's the second transformation. And this was a really big win. Also, a big lesson learned from me is that the fact that a team member might just be smiling, it doesn't really mean that they're doing the right stuff, right? When we come to the right stuff, we need to look at not just the metrics that, oh, they're completing so much work. We also want to look at the happiness of the team member. And sometimes when you go a bit deeper to evaluate their happiness, you realize that it's a bit dimensional, and we need to shift to focus on other dimensions that are not just metrics, velocity. Yeah. So this was the second transformation, and I can go over and over and over again. Now you can just go from the Scrum value. Scrum value is about commitment, right? If you take a case of commitment, like, oh, most often I came to my team and realized that they will just do their planning and everybody goes, nobody's committing. And because of that, those three. So when I bring up the aspect of, oh, we need to commit and explain to them the importance of commitment and why it means to them, and then put that as an action item for everyone to be committed, you can see the transformation. Now we can talk about aspect of being open in communication and other stuff. You can take any of these and try to break it down. What you don't want to do, which a lot of you are doing, is that what? When they say talk about an aspect of transformation, you say, oh, my team was a waterfall team, and when I joined my team was a waterfall team, and I actually moved my team from waterfall to Scrum, and I did this, and we started moving from hours to... You are complicating yourself for no good reason. Remember, I answer all of these questions without going into any in-depth of story point estimation, without going in depth of any technicality. Why do I choose to do that? It doesn't mean that I don't understand it, right? And that is why I tell every Scrum Master, you need to be doing your assignment by making sure that you're keeping yourself, you keep studying the work. Some people, they get a certification and they feel the rest they need to do is question, answer, they'll go get the job. And I always say, look, if you've had more than 5 interviews and you're still at the point of interviews, it's a reason that you cannot really sustain this journey on your own. Invest, even if it means you invest in $5,000 and getting someone that will put you together, is worth it. It's worth it, right? If you succeed and invest and get that position, within your first 1 month, you're able to sustain that. Now, what's the technique of doing an investment for people that want to do the investment? It's not how cheap it is, like, oh, it's too much money, oh, that's a bit expensive for me. And then you keep that saying, it's expensive for me. You're investing in area where they're not putting in the time and the effort. Now, if the goal for you to come to me, this is a bit of coaching. We are finished answering our question. So if you don't want to listen to coaching, you can skip this part. Now, the goal for me is to say, okay, I just want to have you, anytime you have a question, ask me. That's what a lot of people do. They just want someone they can go to. Can you answer me this question? Can you answer me this question? Your problem is not about answering questions. Your problem is the foundation. You're missing what you need to put at the foundation. So no matter how many questions you know how to answer, you cannot concretely lay it with facts, right? With just these scenarios-based question. You need to understand that foundation. And that's what coaching do. Coaching is not to help you answer questions and coaching is to help you build a foundation based on your background. For any person that's joining our team, one of the first things we do is that we do your background analysis. Are you coming from a head background? Are you coming from an engineering background? Are you coming from a communication background? Are you coming from a law enforcement background? Then when we look at that dynamic, that is what now helps us to be able to say, okay, if you're coming from a head background, these are scenarios that can work for you. These are action that you've been facing at work. This is how you can convert them to scenarios. It doesn't just take question and answer to do that, right? That's also just giving you the value of what we bring on the table when we work with our students. Sometimes just 1 or 2 sessions sitting with you is enough to be able to get you to the mindset that you can go the next day and get a job, right? And so value is not about how much time you're putting in, it's about the knowledge you're putting in. If I could give you something that will help you make $10,000 tomorrow, will you be willing to say, pay me half of that money if I want to help you get $10,000 tomorrow? Yes, that's a yes, right? But if I just want to give you an idea that it's just going to make you happy and not create any change, probably you're willing to pay maybe $100 or so. It's just an idea, right? Something open. So go for value, and one more to invest yourself in a value, be in a community of like-minded people that are not waiting for answers but are willing to go look for the answer and ask the right question and go do the right stuff. Check the description below, look at the video, come to our community. We're going to push you to do the right work. Most of our people that go through us, by the time they get to the job, they know what to do, right? I also coach people that already have the job and they don't know what to do. And I see the difference when they're asking questions on what do I need to do my first day? How do I set up my calendar? How do I know if I have a meeting or not? These are not questions you should be asking when you already get a job. These are questions you should prepare yourself. Okay, that's enough for today. Do have a great day, and God willing, we are going to see again within the next 2 days for another great video that's helping you to go win as a Scrum Master, as an Agile coach. All right, see you tomorrow.